What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 4 of the Essential Oilers podcast. We finally got some news to talk about, Swites. Once again, your host, Andrew Bennett Benny, and Scott Schweitzer, Schweitzy. Darnell Nurse finally signs. We're going to start off right from the top here. Get this one out of the way because we've been waiting almost 2 months for this, and it happened a while ago now, by the time we're posting this podcast. Initial thoughts?
Honestly, I loved it. I thought it was great. It's exactly cap friendly for the team. It's a bridge deal, which we wanted. I said I wanted between 3 to 4, preferably around 3.5. Signed $50,000 more than Josh Morrissey, who's very comparable to him. Got that $50,000 a year more Northern allowance pay. And I just thought it was a great signing, and hopefully he'll live it up and then make that headache in 2 years for the Oilers to re-sign him for a big long-term deal, make the cheddar. So
exactly. No, it worked out really well. I'm pretty sure most people saw it. As soon as Josh Morrissey signed, you had to know that had one effect on the Darnell Nurse trade, and that it was going to happen right away with Nurse, because I'm sure he was waiting on Morrissey to see what he was doing because they were so comparable with numbers and stuff. Bridge deal, just kind of what everyone thought. 2 years, it worked out well. We're not paying him long term at this point. It gives him, like we said, and we preached for 2 episodes, that it's 2 years to prove himself. Hopefully he does very well. And like you said, he's going to provide, if he does do well, he will provide a headache for the Edmonton Oilers management and trying to balance that salary cap once he asks for more money, as long as he does well. Which, from preseason, it seems like he has.
No, the one that I love is, I know I'm going to throw this question at you right now. So comparables, there was Josh Morrissey, Shea Theodore, Darnell Nurse. Shea Theodore signs that $5.2 million deal for the next, 7 years.
Big contract.
Big contract, big money. Do I think Shea Theodore and Darnell Nurse would be worth that? 100% yes. But I think if they want to prove themselves, and I think in 2 years, Darnell Nurse will be making about $6-7 million if he keeps on the progress. Like if he goes out there and scores, let's say 35 points this year, I easily see him as that. I see him as a guy that will be a little bit comparable. I know they're both black. Bear with me. I see him very comparable to Seth Jones, and just their styles are very kind of similar. But I see him just a little bit behind Seth Jones, and I see Seth Jones doing that. He had 50 points last year?
Yeah, Seth Jones could easily be a Norris guy in the next couple of years.
And then I see Darnell Nurse just being a step behind him, and so I love that deal, and I'm glad that Darnell didn't sign that, because in 2 years from now he's going to be making bank, and it works good for him to go improve it and go get that money, and for him to bring his game to the next level. It works out good for the Oilers, who are in cap trouble this year, and I love it. I just love bridge deal. I think they're the best thing ever.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Getting back to Theodore, I think it's good for him. It's always good for the player when they can sign huge contracts like that. Obviously, he had a great year with Vegas this past year. However, you never know with guys. He could get paid now, and he could easily drop off because he's got his big paycheck now. You never know. Yep. Hopefully, he doesn't.
Doesn't pull a double D on for enough.
Exactly. You never know. So it's good for management side. I think that Nurse can just sign that bridge deal. Rather than paying exponential amount. Plus, they didn't really have room in the first place. So, all in all, very happy with that Nurse deal. Excited to see what he can do for the team. And now this bridge deal would drive him even more to go and get that big paycheck one day. Mm-hmm. A lot of incentive.
I know, I'm banking on it. I will put $10 down now. I think Darnell Nurse elevates his game this year. If he does successful, if the Oilers do successful, he will have to, and I think he's going to be getting 35 points this year. Calling it right now.
I like it. Yeah, he's going to be, especially now with Sekera out long term for a couple months, he's going to be crucial, that Oilers back end. As long as he can play well, provide points, get a little bit of extra offense coming off of that back end for them that they might be lacking this year a little bit, unless Clefbaum again steps up to what he used to be. Mm-hmm. Nurse should be hitting at least over. That'd be awesome if he could hit over 30 points. Then that just shows a gradual incline in his game, which would be awesome. So pretty much that's good for the Nurse area of things. We're just happy that that's signed and dealt with, and we just wanted to cover that quickly because there's a lot more juicy content to get to here. We're going to go into some comments that some fellow listeners had on 2 of our videos. Swites, take it away.
So for the first one, Ray Nolan talked about how Sekera will be a detriment to the Oilers this year. He was garbage last year, one of their worst D-men. So we get his salary back on long term, and that's a good thing. Ray, I do agree. I agree with you that it's good that we get the contract back. However, Sekera did play, I think, so hurt last year. He, was 32 years old, torn ACL. I think he came back way too early last year. When he actually came back, I thought it was stupid for him to come back because the season was written off already at that point. I know he came around just after Christmas there, but still, take your time, heal up. You're not 22 years old anymore. And I look at Sekera for what he is and has always been, and he's always been a guy that gets 30 plus points for pretty much his entire career. If he's healthy, he's getting 30 points or more.
Been solid, consistent D-man. I agree with that. I agree with their comment there that he was crap last year, but I think there was a reason for that. Not an excuse. I think he was rushed back early, like we said. He was battling injury, and he's way older than he used to be, so that's almost expected. In that scenario, it's not expected that you're going to do well. They kind of set him up for failure in a sense. But I do agree, yeah, he was awful.
And then what did the Oilers come back to? What did he come back to? The whole team was garbage last year.
Exactly. He came back to a team that was pretty much defeated and probably had a lot of doubt in their head that they were even going to make the playoffs that year. Mm-hmm. And they were crumbling under the pressure of expectation.
Yeah. So I disagree with that. It's good that we get his contract back, but I kind of disagree with that. And then Rugged English commented the other day. He wrote a big one on our thing, so... shout out to him for that. But we mainly talked about how we didn't talk about Ethan Bear lots in our first episode about prospects coming up. And you know what? Honestly, I kind of forgot.
I totally forgot about Ethan Bear. I mean, he played. We shouldn't have, considering he played 12-ish games at the end of last year, but the season was so far forgotten that it was just good experience for him. But Ethan Bear, absolute unit. Mm-hmm. He can be a future piece for an amazing defensive core moving up with the Bouchard and him and the development process. He has been impressive so far in the preseason. Or I don't know if he's been impressive, but he's been, in my mind, right where he should be at. He's been putting up strong, steady numbers. From what I've watched for the preseason games, he hasn't got absolutely destroyed on the back end on the defensive side of the puck like he was at the end of the season. Again, it is preseason, so it's not all the studs playing. Mm-hmm. However, it's going to be interesting with Bear and Bouchard. And that's the big debate now of who's going to be getting the ice time between the two. But totally agree, Ethan Bear is somebody that should always be in the mix in the talk with that Oilers development D and D core. He's going to be part of the D core, so absolute rocket unit.
Well, I think your future, the future for the Oilers D, it does look very bright. That was one spot that the Oilers looked terrible for years on. And you got Caleb Jones on the left side, Ethan Bear, Evan Bouchard, all coming up. And you have three defensemen who are pretty young, and Darnell Nurse, Oscar Klefbom, and Adam Larson. Add those three to them, which is actually kind of works out perfect. One lefty, two righties to help out with the two lefties and one righty we have right now. And I think the Oilers D looks good. I think you'll see Evan Bouchard play his first 9 games and then get sent down, and which is fine. I thought he's looked fantastic in the preseason. He's one of 8 guys playing that have been drafted last year that are suiting up for a regular season game, so good for him. And I think he's gonna be amazing one day. His passes look so crisp out there. He's gonna be a guy that I bet you will get 40 assists, however many, because his passing I thought was lights out. Loved his shot. I loved how you mentioned it's like the Al McInnes slap shot, just straight down. He's a beauty. And I think there's nothing but the ceiling for him. He's just going to be amazing.
Seriously, watching the preseason games, I tried to catch as many as I could, and I was always watching number 75, Evan Bouchard, out there. And just the confidence in his passes that he was making at that level already. And I couldn't believe how hard they were. Usually you can't tell speed when you're watching them on TV. But there was times where he was on the blue line, and he was going D to D. And I remember one specific pass, he was about to send it across, and I thought it was getting intercepted by a forechecker, and they were going to go down on a breakaway. But he fired that thing so hard to whoever he was playing with. It might have been Russell at the time.
Yeah.
So hard and right on his tape. I couldn't believe it. And then anytime he was breaking out, they said one of the best passes, the best pass from that draft, and his breakout ability was next to no one. I just couldn't believe how easily he broke it out. And that first pass that the Oilers have been lacking in, especially last year, was huge. He was just getting it on the tape, easy, makes the safe play out of the zone, and it was perfect seeing him and McDavid because he knew McDavid will get open, he'll send it to McDavid, and he'll walk it down to the zone, out of the defensive zone clean.
And I was a fan of him. I loved Ethan Bear. I thought he brought another defensive element to his game that he didn't have last year at the end of the year. I thought last year he looked good, but he definitely looked out of place.
He was nervous, probably scared. I mean, what would you expect? But that's all part of it.
That's all part of the growing process, right? And then they're going to have that. And I thought he looked fine. Like, he looked like a guy that, just need a little bit of tuning up. He will be good one day. He'll be a 3-4 defenseman, and Bouchard will be a 1-2.
Yeah.
Throwing it out there. That's what it's going to be, and it's going to be that for years to come for the Oilers. So I'm quite looking forward to the year, and I just, sorry for not commenting on Ethan Bear. Just totally forgot about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now moving on, since we are kind of digging into preseason here, it's been a good preseason for the Edmonton Oilers record-wise.
Yep.
However, you can never divulge too much into that. Last year, the Oilers went 6-2 in preseason and had a debacle of a season. I mean, you go 6-2 in the preseason, then you have an absolute crap start to the year. I think it was 2-5-2.
Mm-hmm.
That just shows that a preseason record virtually means nothing. It's just all about how the players look, if anything, because certain goalies aren't playing, certain defensemen, certain forwards for teams, so you can't really judge the team versus team rather than individual players and where they're at and if they can keep up to the pace.
And that's what I agree with 100% on what you just said, was I don't care about the team record. When you watch preseason, I watch it to watch how the players are developing and how they look.
Yeah, and what they've done over the summer.
And the one thing I thought, I remember reading, and then, I don't know Ethan Bear, but I remember them reading that they wanted his conditioning up. And man, he looked good out there. He looked like he plays.
He was keeping up.
He's keeping up, and so he looked good out there. The three main areas of concern that I was looking forward to seeing in the preseason was, number one, a right wing situation between Yamamoto, Puljujarvi, and Ty Rattie. I would like to see all three of those guys stay up with us, and I think they can. I just didn't know going into the preseason if they could. The right D spot with Bouchard and Bear, who's going to battle out for that top spot. And then Cam Talbot, I thought last year, I don't think last year he looked as bad as people said. I just don't think he had the swagger that he used to have. He didn't go in there, he was good, but he didn't make the big save.
His confidence wasn't there. Think about how many times Edmonton got scored on last year on the first shot, or the first two shots of the game. Mm-hmm. He was in net for most of those goals. Kills your confidence, especially when you're grinding to get back to 500 in that first quarter length of the season.
Yeah,
and you're letting those kind of goals in. Well, it's not going to be there like it was the year before.
No. And I just felt like when the games came down the line, I just felt like Cam Talbot just didn't have that swagger that he's going to go out there, make the big key saves that they need to, and get the W. I thought, but so far the preseason, against Calgary, he stopped 41 of 40. No. How many saves did he stopped 42 shots or something like that?
Yeah,
that's
he looked
when they
got badly outshot by Calgary in that last one before they went across seas. Yeah, I thought agreed. I thought Cam Talbot has looked solid this year, back to old form, and even the commentators have been saying that. They say, watch how square he is to the shooter, how solid he is in his stance. He's not having those quick scrambly moments with his legs and with his blades and on his edges. Everything is just so structured and key. He'll push off, square up to the shot, controlling his rebounds. And again, we'll say it probably a bunch of times during this little part about preseason. It is only preseason, but it doesn't matter. Again, he made one of the potential saves of the year against Vancouver. Absolutely unreal save. But he has just looked confident. It just reminded me of the Cam Talbot 2 years ago.
Yep,
so far
looking good. We already kind of addressed the Bouchard Bear thing. I think Bouchard will play 9 games with the Oilers. I think he could, he potentially could stay longer. I just think that he's just going to play 9 due to how contracts work, and then he's going to be sent down. And then I feel like Ethan Bear, who can go both ways, play in the AHL and up.
Yes.
I think we'll take that spot.
I think that'll help the Oilers if they. And that's the thing, they're going to have to do a quick evaluation the first 9 games of how their defense is looking and how they think it can look without Evan Bouchard there. We'll probably do the quick shout out right now to Vlogman Rye. He's a fellow Oilers fan, does great Edmonton Oilers vlogs. We both me and Sweats watch him all the time. He just posted one today, actually a couple hours ago. Hit on tons of key points that me and Sweats just agreed on before we started the podcast that we wanted to hit on and agreed with. So we might be piggybacking on a lot of your comments if you're listening to this, Ryan, but that was a great vlog. But I was just going to go off of the fact that what he mentioned is that either you have Evan Bouchard, you send him back at 9, or if you want to develop him, you bury in that third pairing and let him not do a massive amount of minutes with 1-2 because you don't want to burn him out. You don't want to lose his confidence. You want to be able to be out there, have good shifts, done.
Yep, and I also think too that Evan Bouchard and Ethan Bear could both potentially steal spots. They're going. They should be looking going into this year like, man, I could potentially steal a full line spot because I think the only guy that's not leaving is Adam Larson. He's a very good defensive guy, and I feel like Matt Benning could easily be replaced by those guys.
Yep.
And I think both those guys should be looking at this like, man, I could steal a spot. I fully know Charlie McAvoy. I'd be playing full-time minutes.
Exactly.
And I think both of them do have the potential. It's just for myself as a development guy, I wouldn't mind seeing Evan Bouchard play 9, go get a little bit of confidence playing down in the
and save a year in the contract. How huge will that be? Because by 3 years down the road, when we save a year, and he'll be putting up good numbers playing potentially 1-2 pair, and he's still on an entry level in that third year. Oh, will that be paying off? Especially because of the headache again that Edmonton's going to have at that point. That'll save us tremendously. So yeah, I think like we touched on the D with those two was great. Again, you mentioned the right wingers. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest with Jan Ratty when we picked him up last year, and he was playing with McDavid. I really didn't like it. He's just a guy. I really think that I really wanted Kaylee Yamamoto to step in there or Jesse Puljujärvi because I just nothing against Ty. I just felt like we have these guys that we've drafted. We're going to develop, make them play with Connor McDavid. I just didn't. I don't want to say didn't deserve it because I don't know them or want to say anything rude about them, but I just feel like you give it to your guys, your homeboys first.
Your guys that you've drafted and developed.
That you want them to be the guy that plays with them. However, Ty Ratty this year has looked outstanding. Yep. His shot looks fantastic.
Phenomenal.
And he looks good. And he scored, I want to say 4 or 5 points without McDavid. I don't know his preseason. I forget the number there.
Yeah.
But 4 or 5 points without McDavid.
And that's the huge thing.
Because it's not just McDavid setting him up for easy tap-ins.
Because that was going to be my question to you. Do you think that Ratty could be doing, or Puljujärvi and Kaylee Yamamoto could be doing the exact same thing Ratty's doing right now if they had the exact same opportunity?
Could be. I really liked Puljujärvi last year with Draisaitl. I thought he looked really good for them with Draisaitl, but he keeps playing him with Strome, and McClellan says it's a comfort thing, but
give him the opportunity.
Give him the opportunity to play with Dry. I think those two big boys would look fantastic, and I think I thought Ratty looked fantastic. He's got that great shot, comes in hot, but the one that impressed me the most, to be quite honest, is Jesse Puljujärvi. He looks like a man on a mission.
He looks different this year.
He looks different. And I know I said I think maybe last podcast that he's going to score 20 goals this year. I think he's scoring 25.
If he's playing the way he has in preseason, 2 different games, he split the D phenomenally. Like, he split the D like Connor does. Like, made it look so easy. Mm-hmm. He just walked around him like he was just like, I'm a bigger human than you, so I'm going to go to the net right now. And he just decided that. It was weird because you never saw him do that before. He didn't use his size, and again, I think that's part of being an 18, 19-year-old kid in the league, and you're still growing, and you're still developing physically, and you're trying to like totally understand with the puck, and you're playing against bigger guys that are faster. But God, did he look good? He was shooting the puck always, from anywhere they were getting through because he has a great shot. He was leaking 1 or 2 of his goals just went right through the goalie, which is awesome that they can't even like stop the shot. And then those 2 where he split the D, I was shocked. I was not expecting him to come out like that.
No, he looked like his first 2 years he was a baby deer, didn't know how to quite stand on his legs, and now he looks like the buck of the forest, king of the forest, Bambi style. Like he is going to tear it up. He look fast, look confident, and like he reminds me of Draisaitl out there, just finally using his body how it should be. I'm like, you're a big man.
You can utilize that in the NHL,
and he is utilized and his shot. Like, man, do you remember in the World Juniors? What was it, 3 years ago with him and Laine lighting it up?
Laine and Sebastian Aho, the Finns.
And he finally looked like that in preseason. I know once again it's preseason, but he looks amazing.
But that's the thing, like we said, it's about the individual player, and just his style of play alone as an individual player just looked more confident with the puck by himself, with his shooting, with his skating, everything all around. Mm-hmm. Quickly jumping back to the Ratty thing, did you see the goal? I think it was Vancouver. It was their first goal of the game. McDavid passed it up to Nugent Hopkins, Or it might have been passed up to Ratty, who gave it over to Nuge, who then sent it back up to Ratty. And he had that quick shot that went far side right under the goalie's arm. That was the most impressive goal for me out of all of Ratty's thing, because one, McDavid wasn't directly involved. He only had a secondary assist. That was a beautiful play by Nuge. That was Red Deer Rebels, Nugent Hopkins playmaking right there to feed that right to his right-hand shot stick on the same side. And just that release, within half a second he had that off. And that's where you see in Ratty that like gives the hope in me that it's not just Connor McDavid that's doing that. That's a natural goal scorer's type of goal right there. Not many guys can turn over, look at that puck and release it and get it off that quick right under the goalie's arm. Yeah. That was my big goal for me for Ty Ratty.
And see where mine was, I like the one where he stripped the defenseman in Vancouver and then got the breakaway goal. And I thought I liked that because it showed that he was heads up, two-way guy, got to strip up on, I forget who it was. It was a younger defenseman.
Yeah.
And, and did a nice little 5-hole goal. And I just went as the guy that was not a big Ty Ratty fan. I was like, anybody could score playing with McDavid. And you know what? He looked like a guy that's earned it. And then finally for our last right winger who I've had, this, I think, is one of the more polarizing guys because you'll get guys that either love him like myself or guys that just hate him. Says he's going to be just a bust. And I've talked to a lot of other fans, and a lot of them are saying they either, once again, love him or hate him. Where I think I love him so far. I think he is going to be good. He's talented. He's gritty. Yeah, he's very tiny, but this is the new NHL where their speed means everything, creativity. And that is exactly what he does. And he goes hard to the net, hard in the corners. He looks like, I don't know, like he just reminds me of just like a little wrecking ball out there.
Well, in Ryan's blog today on the Oilers, he compared him to Johnson off of Tyler Johnson for Tampa.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I was like, okay, yeah, I do. Like, I saw, like, when I thought about it more, I agreed with that. But when I was first thinking about it, because he was alluding to how much more gritty Kaler's getting in front of the net. He's going for like those tip in the banging goals right away, especially with the right hand shot. I thought of Brendan Gallagher right away.
Yep.
I thought right in the crease, right in front of the net. I think he's a Brendan Gallagher with a little less like meaty, bulky size, but Yamamoto I think has more goal scoring skill.
Yep. I agree with that. Yeah. That's a very good analogy.
Yeah, which I'm looking forward to. So, in my opinion, I thought, Yamamoto is, again, right on pace where he should be. He is doing kind of what he did last year in preseason. He's putting up good numbers. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, he can have a little hot start like he did at the beginning of last year, and he can just ride into that. Like, he can just ride from a good start and just stay consistent throughout the year. Obviously, there's the ups and downs, but I think he can be a good player for us, and we need him to be a good player for us. Now, I know it's like still putting a lot of pressure because we only drafted 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
But you got to put pressure on a guy eventually, and because he can be a perfect depth right winger for us at this point.
Oh, it's not a young man's game,
and you can place him on 1, 2, or 3 between those lines. That's the thing, and I think he can thrive on all 3 of them.
I agree. I think Yamamoto brings that little versatility to his game. I look at Puljujärvi, like he's out there to score goals.
Yeah.
Where. And I look at Yamamoto as a guy that can get in those greasy goals, play a good third line role, and I know as a smaller guy,
good playmaking I find with him, like good passing. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like you said, Puljujärvi's more a goal scorer, and Yamamoto, I think he has those bursts of skill and goal scoring abilities, but he also can make the right pass, get into the corners. I feel like if he plays on a second line pairing with Lucic and Draisaitl, you have 2 big boys with 1 goal scorer. You get Lucic to go in on the forecheck, hit that defender. Draisaitl comes in, grabs the puck, and feeds it to Yamamoto in the slot, or vice versa with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do this season. I think it was just a solid preseason from him. Like, it's kind of what you expect him to come in with some swagger, being like, "Hey, this is my legit shot year to actually make this team. Like, there's a spot for me, and I can get to that spot."
Honestly, I loved everything about the Oilers preseason this year. Once again, it's hard when you go 6-0-1.
Yep.
And so it's hard not to be happy, but mine was the big question marks that I all had. I felt like everybody came in there knowing that jobs are on the line. There's jobs to be taken. I want this. They all came in there, so my big question marks were all answered really good. The other one, too, that I will shortly hit on, number 1, I thought Luch, he looked good. A couple passes, he's making out the breakout. He never did anything once he had a preseason because he's not out there hitting, fighting, doing anything like that. but I thought he looked like he had, once again, not trying to use the term again, but he looked like he had a little bit of swagger back.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come back big time this year. He's going to come back as his old self. He's going to get around 50 points this year, and he's going to go to the net hard. He's going to hit this year. It looked totally like a whole new Milan Lucic that we had 2 years ago.
And I was going to actually hit on him too. He was going to be the last guy that I was going to talk about for preseason here. You're very right. I didn't think about the point until you just made it that it's preseason right now, so he's not having to do the fighting, grittier side of the game because there's not a lot of need for that in preseason.
Did you hear that, Max Domi?
Yeah, AK Sucker or Tom Wilson, 20 games.
20 games.
But I'm not as confident with him as you are. I just thought, for me, when I was watching him, I thought he looked like he kind of did last year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think that Lucic looked that great, and that's what worried me right off the start. I was like, oh, no, he doesn't look like he's changed that much. I just thought that he just didn't stand out to me at all. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not his job because we have all these other studs on the team and stars, but I was like, you need to bring that back. I'm not, like, totally against Milan Lucic coming into this year, mm-hmm. but for me, in my eyes, he has a lot to prove this year, and if I was putting any money on an Oilers player to not improve this year, he would be my number one, I think. I could see him not improving.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah. So now that we have mostly preseason out of the way.
Oh, one more thing I just want to hit on. Mine was the backup goaltender.
Oh, God.
Man,
that was horrible.
I think I'm not going to lie, like, I just don't see it.
No.
Like, I don't see anything that he does for a big guy. Like, I thought maybe the numbers look good in KHL.
Yeah.
You never know. But that deal looks trash.
Oof.
No movement clause. $2.5 million to put, like, you make $100,000 a game, and he doesn't look good at all.
Exactly. For 2.5 for probably like Ryan alluded to on his blog, for probably 25 starts that he's going to have this year. Mm-hmm. Or it'll be at least one out of 25 starts because we wanted to pull a lot of those games off of Talbot, considering he's been the highest played goalie in the last 2 seasons, I believe.
Yep.
He looked horrible.
I thought he looked just...
Some of the goals that he was letting in that were going right through him, I was shocked. I couldn't believe for a big goalie that would cover a lot of net, like a Ben Bishop style goalie is what I kind of pictured from him. Terrible. I was not impressed whatsoever. I actually thought that, with those numbers and how he did, you could have kept Al Montoya up instead.
That's fine.
It could have been very justified. I would have not been against the Oilers for keeping him up instead of this guy. But how do you look that dumb that you're going to sign this guy 2.5 and then send him down to the minors after? That's like almost like a pride thing. I think that Chiarelli kept him up because he would look even worse.
Guarantee that's a pride thing because I didn't like, number one, he didn't come out to challenge. You're a big body. Like, I felt like
I feel like when you're a goalie, that's your whole game at that size.
Yeah, like he was in the back of his net way too much. Cross crease. Like, he was slower than I could have. Like, he might have been wearing running shoes. That's
seriously,
how slow he was.
And I feel like he was losing his net. Like, he wasn't covering angles for his size, and he wasn't, when he would move and square up with a shooter, he was like, I feel like they were picking him apart because they were seeing so many openings on this guy, or they just noticed that they can shoot it hard enough that it's going to go through him. That was mine where
I was one where I was like, hey, let's see how this guy does. I'm not going to judge him until you see him play. And man, in preseason, you look terrible. Like, the year is going to go bad for you.
So he had 79 shots. He had let 10 goals in on that. So his save percentage boiled down to an .855 as a backup goalie.
And you had Callum Picard, who went on waivers this week, could have picked him up.
Yep.
Literally, people that have experience in the NHL, and you give this guy 2.5, and he looks terrible.
And all you wanted from a goalie is like at least a 900 for a backup. Because all you want is a guy that's going to come in and know his role. He has to play a couple games and he has to come in, he has to play solid, give the boys a chance to win every night.
Yep.
I listened to the Spit and Chicklets podcast. I believe it was Ryan Whitney that made a point saying that you will never have a successful team when you're playing off of goalie by committee, having the two starters that are trying to duel. It's true. It's never really worked out. Toronto had that. Anaheim had that.
Vancouver
had that. LA had that. It's
St.
not.
Louis had that.
It's never worked.
Nope.
But that's the thing. We never brought him in to be that guy. We just needed a solid backup, and he can't. Right now, that's an AHL backup.
I thought he was going to come in, be a guy that, kind of gives the, like the little wake up to Cam Talbot. Like, hey, this guy could steal your job potentially.
Yeah. He probably won't, but if he plays solid enough and puts some good numbers, he could.
Yeah, where he looked like garbage.
But God, at this point, if I'm Cam Talbot, I'm like, well, if I might be starting all 82 this year.
Yeah.
At this point.
Pulling up Genny Nabokov.
Yeah.
Flashback Fridays.
I'm very glad you touched on that. That will wrap up our preseason area here. Overall, good preseason, I thought, for the Oilers, for most of the guys. Looking forward to tomorrow morning with the first game. We're going to move into the Pacific Division. We're going to do what our predictions are coming out of this NHL Pacific Division. Scott, you can take us away.
Okay, first thing, whoever can tell me that they know how the Pacific Division is going to go, you're full of it.
Yep.
This division is wide open from bottom top. You got Vancouver, who might finish at the bottom, probably going to, but I was like, it's pretty much who has the least amount of holes going into the year is how I'm judging mine off of. And I don't think anybody's is going to look the same. If you do, by the end of the year, congratulations, you win. Because I do not see anybody who could predict this. Like, it's not like the Central where I can pretty much tell you 1 to 8 how it's going to go. This division, I think, is wide open for the taking. Whoever wants it will get it. And so for top spot, because they got Erik Karlsson, hands down, it's got to be, for me, San Jose Sharks. However, I'm not putting them down as Stanley Cup favorites like some people do. I'm not a big fan of their offense. I know he scored a beauty goal the other day, but Thomas Hertl, not a big fan of him. Not a big fan of Timo Meier.
The solid pieces they have are still there. With Logan Couture and Joe Pavelski. Pavelski's getting old. I didn't know you, but he's 33. 33 now.
Yes.
Logan Couture probably at his prime right now. He's like, 27, 28?
Yeah, he's saying he just hit that also, I think 27.
Yeah, so Couture's in his prime right now, but that offensive core is getting old. Obviously, they have an amazing back end. You can't argue that. Jones is a solid goalie. If you can get a solid performance like he did last year, that's enough right there for what they have to get them that top division spot. I agree with you there. However, I can see them being like a third round exit out of the playoffs, second or third round exit. I can see them flopping.
Yeah, like I see them finishing top because that deep. Karlsson, Burns, Vlasic,
Dylan.
Ugh.
You have a solid four right there, and you can do whatever you want. And then you put out the power play, and that's even scarier because you're gonna have Burns and Karlsson probably out there at the same time,
back to back. And then
that's horrible.
Evander Kane, could he play
I
good
always
there?
forget about Evander Kane. You still have Joe Thornton, who will still put up consistent numbers like he always does. One of the best playmakers of this era.
Best passer, you can argue.
Absolutely. So, but I do think that it's the age and just what happened with San Jose in the last couple playoffs. Their offense won't be able to carry them into the playoffs, and I wouldn't say that there's been many times that a defense has carried a team through the playoffs on the offensive side of it. Mm-hmm. So I do think that, yep, I agree. San Jose Sharks will win the Pacific Division, but they will not be making the Stanley Cup final.
Okay. Who do you got going second?
Second, this is a tough one now because you could say the Anaheim Ducks, but now with Corey Perry out, they are getting older. Their window is shrunk almost. They're in their 1-2 years. If they don't make their final push, they're gonna have to flip it all around and start from the beginning. So with that probably being said, I'm not gonna put the Ducks at number 2, but I'm gonna put the Las Vegas Golden Knights. I think they're gonna have a rebound season, not a rebound season, but a continuous season of what they had before. They're not going to be as crazy big. The hype train's not going to be behind them as much. They're not going to go to the Stanley Cup final this year. They're going to be a 1 or 2 round exit team. But they're going to have a strong showing. They added Pacioretty to the lineup. They still got the Flower backing them up at net. They're going to be a good team.
So this was the thing I was looking most forward to tonight's podcast, was the fact that maybe we come up with some different ideas for once. But I have the Vegas Golden Knights going in second. I love the signing of Paul Stastny and what's his name? Pacioretty.
Yep.
I think your team just got better. Yeah, you lost out David Perron and James Neal.
Yeah.
You lost on those two,
But
you
you balance
replaced
back
them.
with that. Yeah.
And it sucks you losing Nate Schmidt for, what was it, 20 games for the...
Yeah, for the performance enhancing.
Yeah, and so, that kind of hurts a little on the back end, but I think they're going to come in at second there, so...
I agree with that. Who do you got at number 3?
This is where I got the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers coming in third here because I just think I just look at this roster, and you have the best top 2 centerman combo. It's the second best. I'll give it to Pittsburgh still. But with the amount of talent that this team has, and last year's wake-up call, and if this team could be healthy
And have a good start.
like that started at the beginning of the year, holy, is that a terrible October for those boys?
That's going to be the make or break again this year.
Mm-hmm. And they got, that is just horrendous. Like, they spend, the first 3 weeks on the road to start the year.
Yep.
And so, that one... But I got the Edmonton Oilers. I just have a good feeling about the team. I think they're coming back strong. I think McDavid's going to score 120 points. I think this team will be the third in the Pacific.
So then that'd be who would be matching up? Yeah, that'd be a Vegas and Edmonton first round.
Edmonton,
That'd be
Vegas.
fun. That'd be a fun first round. We'll go to Vegas and watch that.
Vegas for the
So I guess then we're going to be looking at the first wild card. And this is kind of where the Central will come into play. Or are we just going to, do you want to just pull straight from what we think comes from the Pacific?
Let's just pull straight.
Okay, deal. I think it will be, at that point, with the number 1 wild card, I think that'll be the Anaheim Ducks. They're going to still have a solid of enough season to stay in contention. But it's not going to be an easy last 20 games for them like it usually is, where they can ride out, play solid defensive Anaheim Ducks game, win by 1 goal most of the time, and just ride those wins and not have a lot of pressure because they're already almost guaranteed a spot. They're going to have to grind. They're going to be in the battle the last 5 to 10 games of that season, I think.
Cool. This is where we finally differ for once, is I am picking the LA Kings.
Okay.
And I know it sucks that Dustin Brown broke his pinky the other day, or a finger, one of his hands broke, but I just think Jonathan Quick, Drew Doughty, Anze Kopitar, I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. Kopitar is not going to have his crazy year they had last year. But I just like their team a lot. I think they're...
Did you say Kovalchuk?
Kovalchuk.
What do you think he comes in and does this year?
Well, first of all, I thought he was going to be a bust.
Yeah.
When X-Every scored that beauty.
Yeah, where he
goal.
Yeah, where he walks deep, like from end to end by himself, and uses that classic Koval shot and Kovalchuk shot and just absolutely rips one top sheds like it was like 7 years ago, like he was doing it, no big deal.
You seen that Instagram picture on Spittin' Chicklets, how yoked he is still
His
his
arms
age?
are huge, man.
No.
He's got pipes on him. Like, what?
Yoked and in Los Angeles, ladies, watch out.
Yeah, how are ya?
Yeah, but he's coming in, and I think he's going to do good. And because I thought preseason this will show lots. I thought he was going to suck going there, but I'm throwing out that preseason, he might answer some questions. And he might be, it depends also how good Jeff Carter does there too.
Absolutely, and you got to have Quick have another solid season.
I just look at, you have Drew Doughty, Anze Kopitar, Jonathan Quick, your middle's good. That's what you want. You want to build up the middle.
You got a star on the defense, goaltending, and the front end. So Doughty will be Doughty. I can totally see that happening. Who do you got in that second wildcard spot?
Second wildcard spot, I hate to say this.
I'm
It
gonna
kills
say the
me.
same- I'm going to say the same thing.
It kills me.
But I can see it.
But Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
They're
As much as I hate them and stuff, on paper they're a solid team. They should be a solid team. They've added Noah Hannafin. They've added James Neal. Those are good pieces. As much as we say with the deals and the contracts, regardless of those numbers, they're good players. They add to that strong defensive core that they have, and it adds some good offense to add to Gaudreau's and add to Monahan's solid points that he always puts up every year. You still got Kachuk coming through another good year, and he'll be strong again. You still have Sam Bennett back there, or like in the front end, but in that depth, in that 2-3. They're good. They're a solid team, and I agree with you. I can unfortunately see them getting that second wildcard spot.
The big question marks, and once again, we've all talked about everybody's question marks, right? For them is Mike Smith.
Oh,
I did
yes.
not like how they did not go and get a backup goalie. Like, you could have at least done the Oilers and overpaid for somebody.
At least you can say you have somebody or you tried.
Yeah, where like they did nothing. And Mike Smith, Fan 960, he is injury prone. He always gets injured. They talked about him on the Fan 960 about how, he's an iron horse, he works out hard. He might, but he always gets injured. You gotta fill that void because he always gets injured. And I didn't like that they didn't get a good backup. I really didn't like the Hamilton trade because I love Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah.
6'7", right-handed shot defenseman, like just the beauty of a player on the back end. And so I didn't like that you traded number one right-handed defenseman, which is what everybody needs, for Noah Hanifin, who will be a beauty one day, but is right now your second line left-handed defenseman. Where it's like, I didn't like that trade-off. And Lindholm, I do like Lindholm. He does play center, plays the right wing, could be a good versatile guy there. But I think that they're going to finish between, personally myself, I think they could finish between 7th and 11th. But that's where I have them just sneaking into that last wild card spot, which I hate it. So
I agree, getting back to that Mike Smith thing. He's almost, in my eyes, like a Varlamov from the Avs with his consistency. However, he's a bit more consistent than Varley is, but he has that same streak where when Varley's crap, he is terrible, and when he's lights out, he's one of the best goalies in the NHL. And Smith can have those nights where he will easily steal games for Calgary this year, but he will easily be the reason that they lose some this year too.
Yeah, like what he did the other night. He had, 812 save percentage?
Yep, he got lit up.
Lit up again. And Vancouver scored nice goals like that Patterson goal and then the breakaway from Jake Virtanen. Nothing wrong with those goals, but you didn't help the team when they needed you.
Nope.
And that's where, like, Marc-Andre Fleury is like the prime example of my guy that I always said, not a guy that will win you games like Carey Price, who's best goal in the NHL, but will be a guy that stands up when you need him to, that will save out one goal that should have gone in, but will pull it out and keep you in it. So that's where I just not a big fan of their goaltender situation there. So
all in all, then, for my hot take on the old Pacific Division here, I will have the Arizona Coyotes and the Vancouver Canucks missing the dance this year, along with the LA Kings.
Okay, see, I got the Ducks missing the dance this year, but I got the Ducks after first team missing the dance. I think is going to shake a lot of heads as the Arizona Coyotes. I think they're gonna.
No, I think they're gonna have a way better year.
They're gonna. For the amount of young, like they're gonna be a lethal team.
They're gonna be a wagon in a couple years.
And they're solid. Like Derek Stepan, that Rantanen's good. Their defense is good with OEL. Like he's the number one defenseman. Clayton Keller. That the most beautiful hockey player ever. That was Jacob Chichurin.
You just slapped the C on Oliver Ekman-Larsson to throw him. Yeah.
Derek Stepan.
Yeah.
That Dylan Strome, who once again he'll become amazing. Like he did really good in the AHL this last year. So.
And if the Coyotes can play like they were in the last quarter of last season, they're going to be a strong team. They're going to be the team that steals those wins away from you that you really need. When you walk into Arizona, they come into your building and you say, okay, these are the points, these are the guarantees. These are the nights that we have to walk through, breeze our way through and walk out the door. But they're the team that's going to make that a lot harder for you, I think, this year. Yeah,
and that's where I think the Pacific will be so hard to judge, just because you have your Arizona's, your Flames, your Ducks, your Kings, everybody.
That the Canucks look good their first game against the Flames. I know it's the first game of the year, but I was surprised the Canucks handled the Flames that well in their first game.
Yeah.
I mean, the Canucks can steal a few from you. I still think they're going to end at the bottom of the division, but they're still going to be a strong team.
I think the Canucks are going to be a good team in 2 to 3 years.
Yes, they have lots of
they have
talent.
A lot of promise.
And now they've moved on from the Sedins, which is good for the organization, all in all, for both sides. Yeah, they'll be a good team, but yeah, I still finish it.
Like they got good goaltenders coming up, like that DiPietro and that was it Thatcher DeBanco?
Yeah, that's something like that.
Something like that. And then you got Bozer, Jake Virtanen, that goal from Patterson the other night.
Oh my god, first NHL goal.
First shot on net.
Walks in like he's been doing it for 10 years. Walks in on a 2-on-1 and decides to shoot short side and makes it look easy. Like, just walks in just like he's the biggest deal in Vancouver. And I was like, that's awesome. Good for him. Because most guys would be like, I'm going to pass or get a far side shot off the pad, rebound.
Yep.
No, this guy put to Ched's like, it's no big deal.
No big deal. And then they got some really good defense, kind of like that Quinn Hughes and then that Olio Levy.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to, I don't know, Vancouver in 2-3 years could be really good.
They're going to be a strong team again.
But I just, I just don't see it working out for them this year. Like I think coming in they'll be hot, and then they'll slowly wear off a little bit. So.
And I think for me, with the first team missing, it's going to be a toss-up for me between the Kings and the Coyotes. I think they're going to be like a team that's like 2 or 3 points apart.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be like a 10 to 15 point gap with the Canucks.
And see what's mine. I agree. I just have Arizona, then the Ducks. I got the Ducks finishing up a little lower. I'm a man that loves defense. I think their defense is strong. Love everything they bring to the table. However, their forwards, I just don't think they're going to carry it. Just with Ryan Getzlaf getting a little older, Corey Perry out, Ryan Kessler getting a little older. Like they're just a team that. Man, like they have such good defense, but I just don't think their forwards have enough oomph to bring it there.
When your main guy is going to be Raquel holding your offense,
in
that division,
and he's good.
He's good, but he doesn't. You don't put a team on that guy's back to carry your offense.
He's not going to Taylor Hall your team.
Nope.
So, no, and then like honestly, do you want to go over the Central? Because can we both agree it's pretty much going to be Winnipeg, Nashville, St. Louis, Dallas.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Yeah, Colorado's going to be 10. They're going to be a bubble team again. It's going to come down, I think, just like it did last year. It's going to come down to the wire. Last 5 games, I can see them not making it. I can see them getting in by a sneak. They need Dallas to have a bad year like they did last year because it's going to be you're not winning that division with Nashville and Winnipeg, and they're too strong.
And I think Dallas is going to be the sleeper team this year. I think they're going to come out of nowhere and do really good.
And I hope they do because one of my favorite players in the NHL has to be Jamie Benn. Absolutely love that guy. He's one of the biggest studs in the NHL.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think it's Dallas could come out of nowhere, and you never know. Chicago's always sneaky, man. You can't underestimate them. They were crap last year, but it's the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, like
you can't put to pass what they've done the last 5 years.
Oh, mine is like Duncan Keith could come back, have a big year again. Like you just don't know them. Like they're a weird team.
That's why the Central's a strong, especially with Colorado having a good being its contending team again. Like actually like somebody to hard to play against. So yeah, totally agree with that.
Yep. And then so now team predictions.
Yeah, a little bit of expectations going into this season here. We got game number 1 coming up tomorrow, 11 a.m. Mountain Time in Sweden against the New Jersey Devils, Taylor Hall and the boys. I can see, this is not getting my whole expectation, but I can see them winning that game, and then they don't play until friggin' Thursday, which obviously makes sense because they have to come all the way back, but they play in Boston. I think they're going to lose that game against Boston because they're going to be coming off a jet lag, but they're going to win against New Jersey. That's my prediction for the first 2 games. They have a crappy first month. Again.
They have a very crappy first month.
They're on the road for the first 4 or 5, and then they play strong. Their home openers against Boston, which sucks.
Boston and then Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so they're not one. It's a tough road travel schedule, and it's tough teams.
Mm-hmm.
This is again, it's going to be that start for Edmonton. My expectations and my needs is that they need to come into this season, and they need to at least put up at least 10 points in the first 10. They need to be over. They need to be at least 500 or over that in the first 10 games. They have to. And if they are, that's going to be a huge confidence booster knowing that they battled against a tough schedule and tough teams that are going to be all contenders this year. That'll kick start the season amazingly, I believe.
I agree. I think the first couple games, I got them beating New Jersey. I think New Jersey last year rode way too much on Taylor Hall's shoulders, and I think after Sportsnet's interview with Taylor Hall on who's going to win the Cup.
Doesn't even say his own team. Everyone says their own team except for Taylor Hall. He thinks the Winnipeg Jets are going to win. He has confidence in his boys.
So, and even flipping, Dylan Larkin even says the Detroit Red Wings. Come on, Taylor. Stand up for your boys.
Exactly. Larkin knows they're not winning, but you gotta at least stand up for your team.
Mm-hmm. And so, I got them. They got a win in New York Rangers when they play there on the 13th. Then they play in Winnipeg, which is a tough game. Then they play at home against Boston, Nashville, Pittsburgh, Washington, and then Nashville, Chicago, Minnesota. Ugh.
They don't have a bottom 15 in those first games.
Maybe the Rangers.
You're right. Maybe the Rangers, but everybody else, there's a lot of other solid teams that they're going to be playing. So that sucks.
A tough first schedule, but
I'm not looking forward to that.
No, my predictions are they got to do good. They're going to win in Sweden tomorrow. Then they could lose against Boston, but Boston's look weird. They looked good the other night against Buffalo, but they looked really bad against the Capitals. So we'll see how that goes. And for a big prediction, I got my boy Jesse Puljujärvi scoring 25 points this year. Connor McDavid scoring 120
Yep.
this year. And Darnell Nurse coming up, getting 35 points for the team, looking big.
Beautiful.
And then Emma Bouchard playing 9 games and going back down.
I can see that. Well, I agree with a lot of those points. I think one that I'm going to throw in there is a little bit of a bold prediction, but I see if Nuge plays where he has a consistent pace, I see Nuge putting up damn near 70 points this year, I think.
Dude, playing with McDavid, how good have they looked?
Yeah.
From last year and this preseason.
They're looking great, man.
If you want fantasy sleeper advice, Nugent Hopkins.
Oh, yeah,
Will
because
be
he's not
skill.
going to be moving off that line this year because he'll be consistent enough to stay there the whole time, planted on that left wing.
Mm-hmm. And you got Ryan Strome on third line center, so there's no reason for him to go down.
Nope, so you keep Nuge there and let him do his thing, and he will put up numbers for you. Because he'll be in on all those assists, and then he has a pretty sneaky shot, too.
Mm-hmm. The guys who the Oilers, I think, won't do as good as they should will be number 1, Drake Caggiula. I felt going into this year, and once again, these aren't just bashed on the guys. I'm not harping on them. I just have feelings that they're not going to come out how they are. Like they're going to go, not going in there banging how they earn their jobs. Is Drake Caggiula, if he goes in there playing hard, hits hard, goes in the corners, he's that feisty guy that he potentially could be, then he will, improve. But if not, which I don't think he's going to, I think he's going to be, could be the Oilers' one dud of the year. And the other one, too, I love him. I used to absolutely despise this man. But Zach Kassian. Last year, you didn't hit, you didn't fight. Jujhar Khaira came in and was the fighter.
Yeah.
That was your role.
Where were you?
Yeah.
Where was that Zach Kassian from that first round against the San Jose Sharks, who was the energy player who threw... God, he was throwing like 3 big hits a game in that series. He was getting Rogers on its feet.
And, you looked at him against Arizona. One of my favorite plays that Kassian does is when, who is it, Matt Hendricks gets taken out by Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and then he goes in, just cross-checks him, drops the buckets, hits Anthony Duclair, then Shane Doan comes in and solves the problem.
Yep.
I miss that Zach Kassian.
That's the Zach Kassian
the Oilers need, and that's the Zach Kassian you're getting paid for.
Yep.
And I want him to come out. I love him. He's a beauty. Don't get it wrong, but he needs to come out there and do that again.
Yep. He is. He's one of those guys that can be a heartbeat player of the team. He's the emotional guy. He's like what Matt Hendricks, I think, used to be for the Oilers, locker room guy. He's just like the guy that's in the room that you go and talk to, that gets the boys fired up, that does everything on and off ice right to build the team morale, get the energy going. He's that guy. He can be that guy.
Yeah. And he's got the experience. He's a little bit older. He's fast. I love everything about Zach Kassian.
Yeah.
He hits hard. He's fast. Got the craziest eyes in the league.
Yep.
And he is just amazing. But he needs to come out there and do this year, because last year he did not do it. And he's just one of those guys you just cheer for in life.
Yep.
Like a guy that...
He's had a good story, comeback.
Good comeback story.
Knew Edmonton was his last chance, and he's made actually the most of it for a good part of it, I think.
Loved him in the playoffs. Loved him 2 years ago. I hope he comes back again this year, but he's my one guy on the chopping block this year.
I agree. If he doesn't come back playing like he did 2 years ago, he'll be crap. I agree. My two duds are going to be, I agree with Caggiula. He kind of came in out of the NCAA with a lot more hype in the skill offensive side of it, and he has been buried down into the third line. He hasn't produced offensively. He's taken on more of a hitting role and like a grindy role, which is good, especially where he's playing, but I don't know if that was really ever his game for majority of his career up until he's made the NHL now. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he can really do that role. He's going to be the guy that'll chip in a few goals, I think, but I can see him not doing any better than last year. And then I already alluded to it, Milan Lucic. I don't have the confidence. Prove me wrong, Milan. Please have a great year. Be that unit that you were back in Boston. Another heartbeat of the team. Be the guy that stands in front of the net on a power play. Get a beautiful tip. Screen the goalie. Absolutely move all those defensemen out of the way. Be that guy for us again. And that will be the perfect second line coming through. But right now, I do not have that confidence in Milan.
Not fair enough. So I just hope those boys go and prove it this year. I loved the feeling 2 years ago when the Oilers made the playoffs and you were just happy about everybody on the team.
It was the coolest thing.
Best feeling I haven't had in 10 years. So I want that feeling again. and I'm excited for the new season to start off.
I cannot wait till tomorrow for the season to kick back off again. I hope we're sitting here in March near the end of the season and they're a playoff bound team and we can do our expectations and predictions going into the 2019 playoffs. I'm excited for this. We're going to catch you guys back on the podcast a couple games into the season, chat with you guys on what we thought about the Oilers' first few games, maybe after the road trip leading into the home opener. We can talk about that. But thanks for joining us, guys. It's been a blast. Go Oilers, go, and we'll see you guys next time.